Welcome to
Yeah,
CDR.
I was going to say,
what are we doing?
that's fucking lost content right there.
No, I was thinking, we'll add that.
See, you're already doing it. You're already just
I like getting real close.
my voice to win the voice game.
Well, I did sabotage you for the last couple of weeks.
I mean, we both sabotaged each other. Probably me more so.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, welcome to CDR. I'm Bryn. This is Matt. This week we were doing Thelma Plum with Better In Blak.
Yeah.
Young artist out of Sydney. Mm-hmm. Killing it.
Yeah, absolutely killing it. Went to breakfast this morning and I must have heard her entire album being played on loop at breakfast. So, I mean, it has some commercial appeal there. So.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Where did you went?
We went to Cafe Catalina down by down on the Broadwater in Southport, and yeah, I must have heard half the tracks.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Well, it's an easy listening. It's very chill pop.
Yep. Yeah, exactly right. And if you omit the tracks with swearing, makes for pretty good.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, background music, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
For a place like that.
Yeah, take out Better In Blak.
And maybe woke blokes as well.
Woke blokes. Oh. Better In Blak, woke blokes, and ugly. I couldn't help but smile and giggle to myself when I listened to these. Like, oh, these are just like little digs at people all the way through.
So yeah, how was your week with it?
Fairly easy.
Yeah.
I can find myself listening to it on repeat if I had to.
Yeah.
It was not hard at all. It's definitely a different change of pace from what we've been listening to, considering that it's poppy but still very, very chilled out and low in, I would say, beats.
Yeah, it's not demanding a lot of its listeners.
No.
But that doesn't mean that it's not a good album or anything like that.
No, I think it's actually a very good album for her first. I'm going to spoil it. It's a good album for her first debut, even though she's been releasing music for 7 years.
Has she?
Yes.
How old is she?
Oh, good question.
Probably, we shouldn't ask a lady their age. So maybe
have you
we'll
ever been hit for that? Because I have.
Have you really?
I really have. Someone asked me, she's like, what's my age? And I was like, oh, I might as well flatter them or I'm going to get in trouble. And I still got hit. It's like, I don't know. Obviously, well and true, they're high 40s, low 50s. And I said, I don't know, 29. I was like 21. What was I expect to say? I was like, oh, and she's like, slap me. Like, how insulting.
Gosh, you must look like a sack of potatoes. That's unfortunate for you.
Me?
You got hit. And you were wrong as well. I mean, there's a part of me that just wants to be
I
right.
was just being, well, I'll just be polite because I'm supposed to be. But no, apparently that's insulting too. Anyway, we're way off course.
Anyway,
won't ask the question.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I found it an easy week.
Yeah.
Getting through it was simple.
Yeah.
Nothing really stood out as amazing, but yet there was no real
Downer tracks.
I mean, towards the end being the, what was it? Do you ever get so sad you can't
breathe?
Yeah, can't even do anything. I felt it across because it's the acoustic guitar and she's not really putting a lot of energy into it. It's almost like I can't even be fucked playing this song.
And so for me, like, funny you mentioned that. So the album, if you were to track like its hype,
its
right?
origin, yeah.
No, not its origin. So the energy of the track listing, it stays pretty balanced. There are some tracks that hit higher peaks.
It starts out pretty poppy. Yeah,
I'm leading to a point.
Yeah.
So shut up. So like you listen to songs like "Don't Let a Good Girl Down" has a little bit more of a beat, and then "Better In Blak" obviously.
Yep, picking up.
It sort of tapers off towards the end, and then I feel like the intent of that particular track that you mentioned is it's meant to be the most stripped back. I mean, if it was any more stripped back, it would just be her singing, right? Well, there would be nothing else.
There would be her. There's another song that was literally only her and the guitar as well.
Yeah, but that was even more stripped back. I know it was
yeah.
Like the acoustic was really understated. It was maybe the occasional chord here or there, and her sort of tortured vocals over the top of it. But even her vocals were
still sweet,
understated at the same time. Yeah. And still sweet. I mean, that's one thing that I actually quite liked about the album. Usually there's that cringe element when you hear an Aussie artist, but her voice is actually really, really quite listenable. Yeah, very good, sweet voice.
Her voice I found had many flavors throughout the album. I felt like a little bit of Missy Higgins, Lisa Mitchell.
Occasional Lana Del Rey.
Laura Marling.
I think she stands well amongst her contemporaries in that way. So yeah, very listenable because of that. That's the thing too. The music isn't particularly intricate at all, and nor is the song structures throughout the album. In fact, definitely not really anything to sink your teeth into from that perspective. So the singing and the quality of the singing basically needed to carry the album, and I think it does.
Considering she's not, I guess, a musician musically, not a composer.
She didn't write the songs?
No, she wrote the songs.
Okay.
I don't think
Oh, she didn't compose the music, yeah.
The one who did work with and has worked with the Strokes.
She's got friends in high places then?
No, well, she went to London and did a couple of recordings over there. Sure. And Better In Blak is where she wrote that song. It came from online bullying and people telling her, like, kill yourself and do dumb shit like that.
Okay, I mean, like, that was the thing too. The lyrics are in a lot of ways, in some songs, particularly stripped back to just the main theming. Better In Blak, I think, is clearly the best song on the album, probably by the length of the field, to be honest. It's upbeat. It has quite a catchy chorus, considering the other songs on the album. The message is not a fractured relationship per se, despite the fact that there are hints to it, and the rest of the album is basically like that.
Yeah, relationship problems, basically. Parenting, upbringing.
And this song, I think, does the best job of any of the songs on the album in terms of owning her heritage, not in any sort of downtrodden way, but as almost, well, absolutely as a badge of pride. And so I think it comes across as the most interesting, both lyrically, musically, and I think her voice is great, and it's catchy. I think it just ticks basically any box you'd want for a song in that genre. And I'm pretty sure that song did pretty well on Triple J.
I'm pretty sure it did.
Got number 9 a couple of years back.
Yeah, so 2019.
Yeah, and it doesn't surprise me that that's the case. Once I started looking into it, I'm like, oh yeah, well, this is easily the best song on the album. You can see why the album's named after it. It's just, it is absolutely the focus.
You think Better In Blak's more based around her heritage?
Not about her heritage so much as a lot of this album in some ways is about feeling empowered. There's a batch of songs in the middle of the album that really sort of focus on that. So like Homecoming Queen, into Better In Blak, into even Woke Blokes as well. Woke Blokes I think is actually quite a good song. It's a pretty stripped back track as well, but it's not a lazy song insofar as like it goes through the usual tropes. It's basically saying, you know, I have my own thoughts too.
Yeah, I'm sick of these people always just following the same culture.
Yeah, and you're a fuckwit.
Yeah, you don't tell me that this is the way it's supposed to be.
So those tracks I actually think really represented the best strip of tracks in the album. Even the following track, Nick Cave, was probably the best of the relationship. It had probably the most interesting set of lyrics. Anytime
like a full-on story.
Yeah, a full-on
following
story,
your crush and being
not like Betty from Taylor Swift's
No,
Folklore.
yeah.
In the better way. One line I'd particularly highlight is, you know, I accidentally liked something from 400 weeks ago. Yeah. Great line, right? Like it so succinctly says everything you need it to say in like 7 words. It is as complex as it is easy to sort of spit out. It's representative of the time, and I think it fleshes the story out in a fun way, which is why this is the good example of how you would do a song like that. And then, fuck off that Betty song.
Well, I think the song also ends quite well with the fact that, oh, you finally broke up and it's 5 years and we haven't spoken. Oh, well. It's like, not hanging on to anything. Really painting the picture with these limited amount of words.
In, I reckon, that batch of tracks. Yeah. I do think that some of the tracks are a little bit filler. I think like she had these great ideas for certain tracks, and unfortunately some of them didn't really hit that level of creativity. Like for example, Don't Let a Good Girl Down, I didn't particularly like. I didn't mind Ugly, but I thought it could have been better. I'm also the same on you on that. You know, do you ever get so sad you just can't breathe? I was kind of hoping for, I don't know, it sort
like
of never,
something to pick up at the end or halfway through.
And like Made For You, the final track on the album, I felt was a missed opportunity. It was the first time that the album really started to actually bring in some stringed orchestration. And there's this one little part in the middle of the song that you would think is going to be the chorus, but they only ever do it this one time. And she sings rather sweetly, and it's interesting. The composition's a bit more dynamic. And then basically the rest of the song falls back into the, I was made for you. And I get that the message is its own sort of empowering, but it sort of didn't really resonate with me. And, probably it's not meant to, but I didn't feel like, because the lyrics felt a little bit stale to me by that stage, felt like the music was a missed opportunity. It wasn't, for me, a good closer. But
yeah, I wouldn't say it was a great closer. I did not know what to think of the last
No, I'm sorry, I'm pointing at the mic. So for those of you just listening to the podcast, Bryn has this horrible habit of spinning in his chair, changing the distance that he is from the microphone, whilst I'm craning my neck, trying to keep in like the same friggin' place.
Sorry, I'm a little bit twitchy.
If Bryn starts going up and down like this... Anyway, sorry, lost your train of thought. What were you going to say?
Yeah, a little criticism over here. I was a little thrown back. I didn't know what to think of it. I was like, oh, this is a little sexual, confronting.
On what particular track, sorry?
The last song,
Yeah,
Made
yeah.
For You, especially a few songs, one part particularly being My Mouth and South were made for you. I'm like, okay. Really did take a turn in the album at the end, yet it kind of fitted into, I don't know what part of it.
Well, it was the one track on the album where she sounded as though she wasn't the primary agent in the song. In every
No,
other track,
yeah.
the headstrong one or the one that's expressing something, but this is almost like, I give myself over. This was almost like...
It's like singing in a dark room with a low light spotlight and everyone else is playing in the background. Yeah, with the orchestra, I guess. There really was a chance for it to be brought up. It just didn't.
Well, no, that's not what I meant. What I meant was basically every other track is her restating her position and empowerment, which is great, and then the last track isn't.
Okay, I see where you're going. Yep.
Yeah, on that, which,
so you
which
mean
is
but
fine.
through lyrically?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Definitely a big difference from Homecoming, which I kind of found was my favorite, only because of
Homecoming track. You mean?
Yeah, Homecoming Queen.
Yep.
Just mainly around the fact that it's going to be quite empowering for a lot of people who are going through that difficult stage through puberty. And she really has, in this album, spoken to her generation or laid out her upbringing and her life throughout. It's like going through the struggles, dealing with online bullying, dealing with not only her heritage, which was a very small factor in there, which is in Homecoming, but mainly for the fact of just being comfortable with your own self and your one self. And it takes a long time, even well into to your adulthood, to finally be comfortable with yourself.
I must admit, I thought with an album title like Better in Blak,
there was going to be
far more references to it, but thankfully it seemed like it was more of it felt like more like diary entries of her own personal experience, and not everything needed to be about that, which was good in its own way, as well as being flavored by the fact that sometimes that is a factor in her particular life. So yeah, I thought the mix of the tracks were good. I really was hoping for maybe one or two fewer relationship songs, but that's a personal preference.
Yeah, we seem to be picking up a lot of these albums.
In amongst the friggin' King Gizzard. Yeah. Which is about, I have no friggin' idea.
Fucking idea. And I can't wait for the next one. Oh, this is going to be a fun lead up to King Gizzard's LW.
Is there any other thoughts that you had about this particular album?
No, not particular. Just cool, chill, poppy, easy to listen to.
Would you go back and listen to it again?
I probably would. It's not hard to get through.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate it for what it is. It's just not to my taste.
It's not your type of...
No,
I have a thing of normally coming back and listening to albums I haven't listened to in 6 months and be like, I wonder if my thoughts have changed about it.
I'm happy to do that in the future, but I would be doing it as part of this podcast. If this podcast stopped, I'm probably not doing it. But that's neither here nor there. That's just a personal preference thing. I think her music is really good. She hit the briefing particularly well. So like that's what it feels like. It feels like this is a really good sort of folksy indie album. The singing is great throughout. The music composition complements that, and the subject matter at times is actually fairly complex, which is great. That's interesting for me.
Yep.
I just wish the music was a little bit more interesting, but whatever.
You may get that in the future.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Maybe her and King Gizzard can do a compilation album or something.
You become a massive fan.
No, I'm just sort of bringing it up because it's the meme.
First tattoo with King.
No, shut up. It's the meme. That's what it is.
It's just the meme.
Yeah. And yeah, maybe I did go down the rabbit hole a little bit. Are you going to pull me out of this friggin' rabbit hole or what?
No, we're getting further. We're going on even further into it.
Fuck yeah. Okay, so you want to give it a rating?
Nope. I'm going to say your rating's around about 6.5.
So for me, I was struggling, right? Because I want to compare it to previous albums and enjoyment that I had with previous albums to sort of measure where it's going to be. I definitely liked it more than, say, Ohms, and definitely more than Spacey Jane last week, comfortably. It's definitely better than the halfway marks. It's better than 5. And then I think, what did I give the Smith Street Band album? I gave it a 6.
Yep.
It was a tortured 6. And I sat there thinking, is this better than the Smith Street Band album?
Are you going to give it to her because she can sing better?
But the problem is that the Smith Street Band had everything else, aside from a few wonky song structure choices that I didn't particularly like. Nah, I think it's on the money the same, so I'm going to give her a 6.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Cool.
New album time, and we're finally done with the Aussies for now.
Yes.
Unless you chose another Aussie band.
I don't know if they're Aussies or not.
Oh, come on, mate. Okay, so what are we
I
listening
originally
to?
looked at this and I thought it was Vanga Boys.
We're not listening to Vanga Boys.
No, it's
are
not
we?
Vanga Boys.
Oh, my God.
So Viagra Boys with Welfare Jazz.
Viagra Boys, Welfare Jazz.
And we will listen to the first track right now. So, bye.
By...
That's not white power. I'm just holding something in my fingers.
That's not a white power thing. That's a fucking meme. You ding. That's 4chan having fun, and then the authorities going, but is it?
Is it?
4chan are doing it, so it must be
It
bad.
must be real. I've read it on Reddit.
Yeah. Reddit's crashing the fucking market.
Yay!